Yeah. Hey guys, all right, just before the show starts, I wanted to let you guys know that my fight against cancel culture is still happening. Please go to the description below. There's a link titled Support My Fight Against Cancel Culture. If you want to help my fight, please consider giving a bit of a donation. All the information's in that link. With that being said, enjoy the show. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Sit Down and Lockdown. I am here with Vittorio Leonardi. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to say it or that. Um, but Vittorio is a quite a well-known stand-up comedian in Joburg and even around South Africa. I've seen him perform live on stage on Comedy Central as well, and I think he is one hilarious individual. So, Vittorio, thank you so much for coming on the show. Say hi.
Joe, hi. Thank you so much for having me. Greetings, everyone in Intertube land. It is a pleasure to join you upon this delectable evening, whatever it might be. I mean, if it's if it's your daytime, nighttime, anytime, really. DJs used to say that crap in the 90s. So if it's your daytime, nighttime, or anytime, join us again.
I think you just gave away your age there.
I have no idea.
All right, so on the show, as some of you may know that watch and frequent the show a lot, I like to get to know the guy or girl behind the mic, the performer behind the mic. So I always start the show with to me, one of the most interesting questions for any performer, and that is, in this case, you're a stand-up comedian. So why did you start comedy, and tell us about the first time you're on stage doing it?
Okay, the why did I start was because I said yes to somebody. I'd never thought of being a comedian. It was never something that crossed my mind. So then I was always very good at memorizing material and like saying it back to people, getting them. I was always interested in getting people to laugh, but at no point did I have the thought of, hey, why don't we do this thing? And is there so that never crossed my mind. I always wanted to be an actor. And so then I was in my first year of varsity at Pretoria Technikon, now Tshwane University of Technology. And there was a guy called Brendan that I'm friends with. And he'd been doing stand-up for about, I think, a year or more at that point. And so we got together, and I was just telling him jokes for one day, just saying stuff to him, material that I'd heard, jokes that I'd heard, stuff I'd read. And he goes, hey, why don't I get you 5 minutes on stage? And for some reason I said, okay. And I can't remember if it was, I think it was about 3 weeks later, nothing had come of it. So I said to him, so about that 5 minutes, and he got them for me. And so I went on stage. Now, I had done performance bits before that doing stand-up, but none of it was my own material. It had been stuff that I had memorized and recited. And there were two definitive gigs during that time. Both of them, I think, at Cool Runnings. No, it wasn't Cool Runnings. It was, it was a venue on Esalen Street in Pretoria in Sunnyside, which is now basically the equivalent of Beirut. It was a bit rough back then, but even now it's, it'll come to me. It was like called Sunshine Cafe or something like that. I probably have the name wrong, but anyway. So I did one, and it worked out really well. And so the owner of the place said, okay, well, we're having a birthday. Why don't you do it again? And the second time really sucked. But, because it was a case of, that's when I figured out why door deals suck. Because if it goes really well, and there's a lot of people, hey, money. And so, I mean, the first gig that I ever really did, not with my own material, but I got like $700 out of the deal, which in 1996 is, I mean, it's comparable to what, you'll get for opening a gig now.
Yeah.
So then I did the second gig, and I really sucked. And I think I got like $200 for my trouble. And I think probably at that point the voice in my head was, oh no, this is a cock idea. Let's not ever do this again. And then the question from Brendan, which pushed me in that direction. And then I just the first time I went on stage, I died on my ass. which I've always felt is a good thing.
Yeah.
Dying on your ass or struggling at least for the within your first 5 sets must be done. Otherwise, you get too much of an ego, and then when you hit the wall, oh, grandma. It's like watching ice hockey players take each other out. And so, oh, and yeah, it's. Mm-mm. So yeah, I kept coming back for 9 weeks after that first set, and slowly got better. And I think then I was properly paid for my first set. I was paid about 100 rand. I was like, hey, money. And the wonders of undiagnosed ADHD is going, oh, wow, didn't you earn more than this before? So thankfully the ADHD was like just going, oh no, there's money now. What is this past you speak of? Money now. So yeah, it was a good time. A good time was had by all.
And how and how long have you been doing comedy now, like in total?
August the 27th this year was 21 years.
Wow. That's amazing, man. It's interesting to me though. So 21 years of comedy, right? 21 years of doing stand-up comedy. And on the show, I like to be honest with things. Comedians are still getting paid around the same amount of 700.
Oh yeah, no, that's an argument that's been raging since I think the first shots in that battle were fired in 2003 or 4. When comics started asking that question. I remember specifically Mel Miller asking that question, and that argument broke out, where it's like, and Mel mentioned it to me again, it was last year, I think it was, we were talking, and he said, well, dude, it's like $1,000 or $1,500 to headline or MC, which is pretty much what people were being paid in the early 2000s. So this shit is that's just what it is. And I don't know how that works, but it seems to be that thing of comedy is the hardest thing to do, and it's also the most maligned. Stand-up comedy is the most maligned of the art forms because it's seen as just telling jokes. But, try doing it sometime, jackass.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of work that goes into doing stand-up, and you, of course, know that. And obviously, when you come to organize a show and promote it and all that stuff, there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that happens. I remember recently, some of the comedians in Cape Town, kind of took up the topic with Kurt Skunrad, who owns Cape Town Comedy Club, to try and increase the pay, because, I mean, you've worked in Cape Town Comedy Club, I'm sure, so you know the rates. And it's a weird thing. They say it's because of the economy. Would you agree with that?
I think sometimes yes, sometimes no. I think what ends up happening is when you run a business, you set your budgets at this is what I am willing to pay for X. And from my own experience, I've known that there is a sliding scale that gets used depending on who's closing, who's headlining, who's on first, and whatnot. Some guys will get paid more than others. It took me a long while to actually not accept it, but realize that it was going on. And I mean, it makes sense from a financial standpoint for some people because what you will pay, what you will pay a Joey Rosdin versus me, for some club owners, they're willing to pay $2,000 for him and $1,000 for me, or $1,000 or whatever it is. I use Joey as an example because he's a known name. He's one of those names that I think it also depends on how seriously mainstream successful you are versus underground successful. Underground successful lasts. Mainstream successful does last if you know how to nurture it, but it's also will open you up to more open fire because you have to stay in the public eye in order to maintain this. So, I mean, we've seen it with a few comics where they get nailed because, they're in the open, they're in the public eye, and then they had the nerve to say something off color about something that people don't like to hear about.
Yeah, we've definitely seen that. I think the sliding system is something that is like, it makes sense to me. If you've only been doing comedy for like, I don't know, let's take me and you, for example, right? if I'm ever booked on the same lineup as you, I know I'm either going to be like either support, maybe another act on the bill. I don't think I would host. Maybe I would host, depends. But you would always be either the host or the headliner in that scenario, you know. And I know
Yeah.
that you have more experience in the game. So of course, it's like, you know, it's a respect thing. I see it as a respect thing. Like, you've put more hours, you've put more effort, you've been here longer. It makes sense to me that comedians get, there's like, you know, support gets paid differently than a headliner, and so forth. There's the debate though about a host being paid the same as a headliner. There's that debate. What I don't like though, and I think that this is my opinion, I think most comedy clubs should try, and I think this is what causes the confusion. Comedy clubs should just have a standard, no matter which comedian. It doesn't matter. Headliner gets paid X, and decent. But headliner always gets paid this, host always gets paid that, support always gets paid that. Done, finished. You know.
No, look, it's a system that can work,
Yeah.
but the shortfall of that particular system is when, if the headliner is paid decently well, then yes, you can put it at that fee and you'll be able to book anybody.
Yeah.
But the reality is, and maybe it's just because I MC is the hardest job on the night. That is the reality of things, because you have to hold the evening together.
That is true.
And you know, if you're just going on and doing a set, is different to having to run a night. I mean, to give you an example of what happens at Parker's, there are 2 sections to the evening with a break in between. So you've got first section, closer, break. Second section, open spot, closer, break. And then straight into the headliner, end of the evening. But during that time, there's birthdays, any admin that needs to be done, you have to handle it. Any announcements that need to be done, they have to be done. Yeah. Some comics do it, some comics don't. There are a lot of things to juggle and to get right. If you're gonna, when you're emceeing a night, you are more working with management and making sure that their version of what the audience should be experiencing and their version of how the night should run, you are enforcing that.
Yes.
And also your job is to, you know, for the most part, make sure that no crap happens on stage.
Yeah.
And if it is, you have to deal with it afterwards. I mean, even if the comic has destroyed said heckler or whatever, then that's fine. But I've had it more than once where comics dealt with this person, but they're drunk, so you're going to have to deal with them anyway, which is always such fun to just got to go into the break, and then Odie the Wonder Dummy is still there.
Yeah, no, I know what you're talking about. Well, you know, that comes with the territory. And I agree with you. An MC comedian does have a much more, a bigger responsibility. Most comedians, if they're support, open mic, or headliner, we've seen them, like even an MC, this is the point I'm trying to get to. An MC is there for the whole show. So they arrive early, they, like you say, they do the admin thing, then they're there for the entire show until the end. Whereas most or some comedians will only come when they're needed. So I'll be there at 8:30, and if it's an open micer, they'll do their thing, then they'll leave. Headliner only comes later on in the night, that kind of thing. So your time, you know, for being there needs to be, in my opinion, compensated for that. So yeah, but I mean, like you said, this is an argument. I didn't know it was happening for so long, because I was only exposed to this like a year or two ago when it was a thing in Cape Town. Before then, I didn't know. I just I was young in the game, accepted it. This is just how it is. I didn't know that for so long. This has just been the thing. Do you think that, because there's been talks about this in the industry, I don't know about in Joburg, but do you think we need like a comedy guild or a comedy union?
I remember there being talk of bringing some sort of a union or a guild to look after comics. That conversation's been going on for at least 20 years. And it'll start up and it'll fade. And the reason why it fades is because comics are lazy.
Yeah.
It's the reality is that we are used to working in 5, 10, 15, and 20-minute stretches, at the most half an hour, maybe an hour. like extra time would be 30 minutes, well, an hour and 32 hours. But in order to have a union work, you would need to have admin people, people that pretty much are not related to the comedy industry, but understand how it works. So they have to be the admin wing. It has to be run like a business where it's like, these are the lawyers, this is the this is the this is accounts, this is that. And if there's a grievance, they have to be the ones who can take it up for you. But in order for that to happen, then that requires that there's a bit more formality to what we do. There have to be contracts in place. There has to be guidelines that are adhered to. And I mean, frickin' hell, how many gigs have you been to? Gigs that you've organized where management decides 40 minutes before the show's supposed to start, no, we decided we're going to cancel. And then you still have to debate with them whether or not the comics get their full fee. It's not even a cancellation fee at that point. They are already here. They've given it. You have to, and the fact that you've told this to them and they still don't get it. No, this is how this works. They are here. They have not taken other work to be at your venue. So hence the money goes to them.
Yeah.
Blah. I mean, the first thing, when I still used to run gigs, which I don't anymore because I got tired of having that sort of an ulcer. But it's literally, like half the issue is dealing with actually getting the gig to work. The other half is dealing with comics that get in the way of that. And it's like in three parts. It's comics, venue, and owners of venue. And, once those three things are in place, that's just...
And then you throw a sponsor into the mix, that makes things even a bit more...
Oh, yeah. No, but that's... I mean, I don't even... Yeah, that dance... The sponsor is hilarious because... that's a whole other podcast on its own. But I mean, it's the thing of... I was tired of getting the ulcer. But when I used to run gigs, my standard thing was always, we do not run a door deal. This is the set fee. Comics will be paid on the night. And that's it. That's and that'll work fine for, let's say, 4 weeks or 6 weeks, or if it's a monthly gig for like the first 3 or 4 months. And then they forget. Now, there's, I don't know if you ever watched Night Court. Okay, brilliant sitcom if you can ever find any of it. There was a bailiff in it called Roz. Roz was also played by a female comedian. And I saw a set of hers where she says, I like it when thin people say, oh, sometimes I just forget to eat. And says, I have forgotten many things, my wallet, my keys, my driver's license, my mother's maiden name, and where my car was parked. I have never been so stupid that I forget to eat. You have to be a special kind of stupid to forget how to eat, to forget to eat. And it's the same thing of, I think you have to be a special kind of stupid to forget that you need to pay people that are essentially employees for that evening.
Exactly.
So yeah, I mean, this conversation got really serious really quickly.
Well, I told you, it's not
everywhere.
It's not scripted, and I love these kind of conversations because, people don't talk about this out in the open, and I think we should. And the thing is, as well, like I've been in the game half the time you have, so about just over 10 years, and I only recently also stopped doing that whole door deal thing. I don't. Venues love to offer that. Love. Oh yeah, you take the door.
Oh yeah, because it means I don't have to do shit.
Exactly. And you take the door, and it'll be great, and blah blah. And I stopped 2 years ago. I stopped doing that. I was like, no. And I came in with a whole new business idea that worked. It actually worked. Of course, it worked quite well. But I would always tell. So my thing was always like, I'd walk into a venue and I'd be like, look, the product is the comedy show. That's the product. I'm going to organize everything for you. I'm going to book the comedians, I'm going to do the posters, I'm going to do all this stuff. I'm even going to go beyond that after the show, during the show, take videos, we'll put it on social media, we'll show what a great time it was. There's a website, people can go check it out, people can book on Quickets. I organized everything. All they had to do was sell tickets. That's it. That's all the venue had to do. But I provided everything else. And I had some pretty decent venues I was working with pre-COVID that were phenomenal. The business, the owners were great. They supported it. They understood the concept, and it worked. Unfortunately, COVID happened. So yeah, but I don't know if I'm still going to.
The thing is, though, you know your system works. So
Yeah.
now it's a case of slowly getting that back up and running. I know the pain in the deck, but if you think about it this way, you trial ran your stuff. you know the system works. So it's not going to be a case of, well, we built the thing, we just need to plug it into the wall and see what happened. Okay, so everybody stand back and
Yeah.
let's see what happened.
Well, if I'm honest with you,
Okay, I'm going to hide behind this lead shield.
if I'm honest with you, Vittorio, I think I'm getting to that point where you are. You know, like organizing shows is takes a special kind of comedian to do so. I believe patience,
Yeah.
hard work, and all that stuff. And I don't know if I even want to go back to that anymore. I'm still deciding, but I think for the most part, it's something I'll organize shows like. I think I'll organize shows a different way in terms of like maybe once a month or once every 2 months, once every 3 months, I'll do a show and I'll have different comedians with me, but it'll be like my show, you know? Whereas
Yeah.
before it was more like, come see comedy nights at Fred and Max, you know, every month there's a new lineup and blah, blah, blah. I think I'm done with that version of it. And that's just how I feel. Yeah, I've done a lot of what you call reflection.
Inspection.
Yeah, reflection during the lockdown as well. So yeah, but I agree with you 100%, and I think that some comedians don't see. Some comedians get irritated with me when I say this, but I say like you need to start looking at it like a business. And I know people, comedians don't like seeing it that way because the moment you say that, they think no, but it's comedy isn't a business. It's like an art and blah blah blah. But arts can be
Yeah,
a
that's great,
business.
but you got to get paid for your freaking art.
Yeah, exactly. so yeah.
I'm sure Van Gogh would like some of the millions of dollars and pounds that those paintings of his were sold for. He died penniless.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't want to do that. I got a point. I got all that grown-up shit to deal with. I have a wife and 3 children. By 3 children, I mean cats.
I have 4 cats. So,
oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
So you understand.
Exactly.
You've had that moment when one of your children will walk into a room and just look at you. Just look at you and wonder,
what are you doing with your life?
You know, when I sent out my hiring policy, I specifically requested a butler, chef, and ear scratcher. Instead, I have this bumbling novice who on occasion gets the food order correct, but I have as yet to see any caviar. And all of that is in that one look it gives you.
Yeah. That's very true.
People say, I read stuff about cats and learn what they do. And there's a thing that says, if a cat slow blinks, it means they're saying that they love you. In my opinion, what you're not seeing is them going, fine, slow blink, whatever.
Absolutely.
That look of you, this is so beneath me, I'm really a playwright.
Yeah, cats are awesome though, especially when they're kittens. But then when they grow up and they're kind of not so much cute anymore. Yeah, so I think we could talk about this challenge, if I can put it that way, with the industry for a very long time, and it's sad. I think it's very sad. Like, and like, you know, we often talk in the industry among comedians. I'm sure it happens in Joburg as well, when there's something like that flares up, and then everyone's like excited for like a week or two, and then it just kind of sizzles out. It's like you said,
yeah, because they're excited, and hey, you know, let me know when the product's done, and I can keep goofing off.
Yeah. All right.
I'm excited because, well, chances are, if it was a catered for event where this was announced, then freaking hell, they're going to be super excited.
Yeah, that's also true. So let's talk a bit about a little bit more about your career and what you've done since starting comedy. I know you. I know you've done some one-man shows.
Book of answers.
I know you've done some one-man shows. You've been on TV. You've done all that stuff, which is great. What's it been like?
The one-man show was interesting, though. You're talking about the It's All Geek to Me.
Yes, I think so. I think that's the one I saw. I think
Well,
so.
signal sort of bounced all over the place here.
Oh, sorry.
Uh,
Yeah, I think that's the one. I remember I know I saw you on Comedy Central. You were on the Parkers,
yeah, yeah.
um, and I really enjoyed your stuff. I think it was when you still had that long ponytail, if I'm not
Yeah, I still
mistaken.
had long hair. My word, that was very cool. I got to be. That was the first Comedy Central presents for Comedy Central Africa. So I
Yes,
was like, it was me, Mpo Pops, Don Goliath, and there.
wasn't it John Blissmas?
Yeah, John was hosting,
Yeah.
but there was another comic. Uh, freaking. But yeah, so there was a mysterious fourth comic, wore a mask, and this is before dabbing was a thing. Not that it is a thing. It's yeah. So yeah, that gig was a lot of fun, but it was like to pull back the veil of mystery on these gigs. I think they filmed with all of us. They filmed about 15 or so minutes. I did 15, of which they used
10.
4. And I have tried to get a hold of the rest of that footage because I think it would be awesome to get a hold of. But in perpetuity is a phrase you'll learn a lot of as you start signing contracts.
Did they not
Um,
give you the footage?
no, they give you the footage of the stuff that you did that appeared on Comedy Central. But all the stuff that they filmed, no, not all of the footage, no.
Oh, that sucks.
It was, and I don't know if you've ever been on a show where John hosts.
Yeah.
And did you also get the feeling that he has this mild disdain for the people in the room?
Yes.
It's like it's like now that I think about it, the comment I made about cats earlier, it does remind me of that in a bit. There's times where John, he just looks out at the audience, and I think if he could set them ablaze with his mind, he would.
Yes. I went to watch what's that one that big show that he did they used to do almost every year, Mayhem or something. It's with an M.
Ah,
And they would tour all over South Africa with that
yeah,
show.
yeah, I know.
And he was hosting the one. Woo!
Yeah. Now, I must ask this: did someone anger him, or did he
Yes.
just look at someone and then unleash hell?
I think someone heckled him in the front row. I remember him, and then he went off at that person. Like I remember him going off for a bit, and then he still like made a comment like, "Okay, now that I'm done with you, let me get back to my show." But he's a legend. I mean, like we have some comments coming through here. Totten Kompf, which is a very interesting name, says John
What is his
Business.
name?
Totten Komp.
That's Death's Head.
What's that?
Totenkopf. That's Death's Head.
Okay. John Blissmas, absolute legend, nice guy in real life. He is a nice guy in real life. I will
Yeah,
say
no,
that.
he's very much this chilled human being,
Yeah.
great to speak to, and that he's very forthright. He's one of those few people I've met that genuinely knows exactly this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm thinking, and he has that focus, that
Yes.
sort of thing that like freaking the so, yeah, it literally has that focus of this is the thing, and this is what I'm doing, and it's never forced.
Mm.
It's yeah, it's never been something that's forced. It's always this honesty, and yeah, I was always happy to be able to approach him.
Yes.
So I'll ask him, he says, John. So I was thinking, and he's if he knows you and you're a colleague, that's always brilliant. Where he goes, like, hey, how's it going? Shake your hand. And so that there was never this distance,
Yes.
at least in my experience, and I was always extremely thankful for that.
Well, when I met him for the first time, he was like, "Oh, you're Joe Media. Yeah, I've heard of you and stuff like that." It was at the Comics Choice Awards when I entered for the newcomer,
Mm.
and yeah, he was like, I was so surprised because I was nervous. Like I'm a fan of John, so like I was so nervous to like even approach him, and he was like my height, which was also like weird. I thought he was taller, but I was like, oh, I'm such a huge fan, and he's like, oh, thank you so much, and what's your name, Jeremy? Oh, I know you. It was so cool, like so freaking
Mm.
cool. What do you think, though? Here's a question. I don't know. You can say no to answer the question, but you're speaking about John. Did you see his video about the Comics Choice Awards?
Yeah, I did. I saw it. Another comic forwarded to me, and my first thought was, okay, so something's happened here, um, and I'm nervous to ask because I don't think it's any of my business. I mean, it is to a degree. It is. I mean, I have. That was, I don't know, what, 4 or 5 months ago that video came out?
Yeah, it
Like 4 months ago?
just as the lockdown, I think, when it
Yeah.
came in.
So it was like March.
Yeah, yeah,
And I still haven't been. It's I suppose I just put it aside, but I have not messaged John. Question. Don't wish to intrude. You're clearly a very busy man. Uh, so about this, and his answer will be to the point, sharp, or not at all, and they'll just be like, oh, of course, sir. And I'll try my best not to leave the room. Yeah, yes, of course, sir. The maitre d' will see you to our finest table. Would you like the keys to my car? No, you have a much nicer one. But off you go, sir. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what that was about. I a few theories crossed my mind. But I thought, you know what, I think whatever it is, if you want to know what the story is, you ask John,
yeah,
or ask the people with Comics Choice, and then you'll hear the stories back and forth and see what happens, really. I mean,
yeah,
I think everything hit pause when March came along, and it's this freaking stupid phrase, the new normal.
yeah. No, I agree with you on that one.
It sounds like an advanced model for like the latest geek or whatever. This is the new normal. Remember when geek became the new normal? Where
Yeah,
suddenly, like all the stuff I used to have friends and myself used to have the shit kicked out of us for being the weird kids. Now suddenly it's fine. I try not to be bitter about it, but I am. Um, uh, yeah, it was the things suddenly changed, and oh yeah, comic books, such a wonderful investment. And immediately, all of the muggles, you could hear them when suddenly, like, they would buy a random comic book and want to know if they could sell it for 50,000. I said, of course you can. Whether or not anybody pays for it is another story.
yeah, man. Well, I would have said, of course you can, in like 100 years.
Yeah, I mean, just because it's the first edition doesn't mean it's going to be famous.
Exactly.
I mean, if you've ever read the first Action Comics, the one that's where Superman appears, what, they use 3 colors?
Exactly.
It doesn't look all that spectacular. It's whatever makes that thing unique is what makes it unique. I mean, you can't put a price on it.
No, I agree, and that's the thing. Like, you, when it comes to comic books, like they've become like the ones back in the day, the first editions of
Mm-hmm.
any comic that was released. It's now like a cherished art form or cherished art, like any other artist that did a painting way back when. Then now it's like super rare to get a hold of it, because
Mm-hmm.
also with artists, they did many different paintings and then recreations were done of that. So to get an original, like it's like
Yeah.
hugely expensive. It's the same concept. I just have to quickly say, I struggle to say this one.
Totenkopf.
Tontonkov has given a 14 Rand super chat. Thank you very much for that. Contribution for your next 1.1 kilogram steak.
Oh, crap.
So let me explain.
I was like, what?
So I went to a bra and I had a 1.1 kilogram steak and I like posted it on social media and stuff, and yeah, like I had a bit of a live stream and told people about it, and It was a very nice steak. I didn't finish it. I didn't finish it, but it was juicy as hell.
I
Um, yeah, what?
I can't remember the last time I bought a steak of that size. It just because of the costs involved. If it is a good steak, I mean, you got to savor that because chances are it wasn't cheap anyway. I mean, unless you actually know a farmer or someone with a slaughterhouse and a cow went in one side and your steak came out there, and then you can say, "Oh, I'm getting it at cost." Wow, 1.1 kilo. Was it one of those like
It was a T-bone.
those ones where they put the Texan sauce
No,
on?
no, no, no. It was
Okay, so it
a
was a
T-bone
proper one
steak.
one kilo.
It was about that thick, like probably about that thick. Um, it was
Dude,
actually
you're
from
like so
Checkers.
hot right now.
It was actually from Checkers. Like, and it was like 120 odd rand. Like, it wasn't that bad. Like,
Yeah,
you pay that at a you pay like for 600 grams, you'll pay 150 rand at a restaurant. So
and that's usually just the T-bone steak.
yeah,
That's not. We're not speaking of sirloin or fillet. The fillet will cost you all of the bones in your spine.
exactly. Oh man. All right, so let me get to some of the comments here. See what
Yes.
people are saying. Let's see. I'm gonna go a bit back. Someone was asking about your name. Let me
Oh,
see. Yes, who is Vittorio named after? It sounds very Italian. That
in
was
my lifetime, I've only met two Vittorios. One was a guy in his 50s, and another one, it's like Facebook has introduced me to like every other Vittorio on the planet. But it was the reason why I was called that is I have two older brothers. And so I was very much a not unplanned, but unplanned. What I believe so it is very Italian. Yes, my full name is Vittorio Aldo Leonardi, and I say this on stage. But not only am I Italian, I'm a triple word score in Scrabble. Um, and the cool thing is Aldo is my father's first name, and so I got my father's name as my middle name. Vittorio is because I was the surprise. I was the youngest born, so therefore, according to my mom, I won the race, which is the most polite euphemism I've ever heard in my life. Um, and yeah, so as Vittorio means, it translates to victor. So he who wins, or the winner. So yeah, I won Aldo Leonardi. So in theory, I should have a small statue of this guy called Aldo. Whenever I tell people that my dad's middle name is Aldo, they go, "What, like the shoe store?" Yeah, yes, exactly,
yeah. I
like the
was
shoe
wondering why
store.
it sounded familiar.
That's why I only wear Caterpillar boots.
That's a good one. So someone Totten saying triple score in Scrabble. Blah, I enjoyed that joke.
You are welcome.
Yeah, very quickly, just not that we're ending off the show. It sounds like we're ending off the show now, but I just want people that are watching now. Is there anywhere that people can see your stuff, like see your content, see your comedy?
YouTube would be about the best place. In March, just before the lockdown happened, I think it was 2 weeks before the wall came up. I did my one-man show at Fire and Ice in Melrose Arch. I think I was the last one-man show that happened in South Africa, and I'm stand up
Quite
to be
possible.
corrected. The last one-man show to be done in South Africa before the lockdown set in, and it was hilarious where the lockdown hit, and like 2 weeks into lockdown, they're saying yes, and there were reports of outbreak at Melrose Arch, and I was going, oh shit, should I warn the audience? Well, no, it's been some weeks. Hopefully, they're all okay. But yeah, YouTube would be the best place to see. What I did was when lockdown came in, I was having the footage edited together, and it's not like massively professionally shot. I set up 3 cameras, and over the course of the evening, each of them encountered different technical difficulties until eventually only the one that was plugged in actually stayed running. But it was the one that had the best angle, and you could see everything, and so that was good. So
Oh crap!
yeah, it's the footage was all cut together by a friend of mine, Robert, bless him for it, and yeah, so the footage of the show was put onto YouTube, and I put it up for free. It was a case of, look, this is my footage, enjoy. People need stuff to watch during the lockdown. My gift to you.
I want to show you
So there's
something.
that. My
Sorry.
Facebook page also.
Sorry, I'll let you continue. But I just want to ask one of my friends that is watching, Yanni, if you're listening and if you're watching, can you please find the link and put it in the live chats? Dude, this guy is so good at doing this. You'll see in a moment. Continue.
But yeah, it's the one man show it's called It's All Geek to Me, and it was literally my journey of being a geek. And I wanted to do this one man show. Originally, it was going to be in November of last year, but I couldn't secure the venue, and so it turned out to be March and of this year, and did the thing, and I had a lot of fun. It was great to be performing to my audience again, and by my audience I mean there were about 80 plus people in the room, of which maybe 4 weren't geeks. And so it was hilarious. It was like what it must feel like being, when you're in the locker room for PT class or gym class, and you just, and being one of the buff kids, going, hey, yes, PT, why would this be a problem? Exercise is my friend. Yeah. So the one-man show is very, very cool. At least I thought so. I had a lot of fun doing it. There's also footage from other bits and pieces there. I'm going to be uploading the live stream that I did on August 27th for my 21-year anniversary.
Nice.
I did a thing on Facebook where I just did a live stream and said, look, it's 21 years. I need to do something. So I went up, and it was about an hour and 20 minutes of just answering fan questions and just telling stories, like what we're doing now, of stuff that happened on the road, gigs that have happened, good gigs, bad gigs, and just chatting about stuff. So I'll be uploading that to YouTube as well. I'll be uploading that to my Facebook page. For my personal page, the address is facebook.com/Vittorio.Leonardi/7. Or I don't know if it's /7 or just 7. I think it's just Vittorio.Leonardi7.
Okay.
Which means that there are another 6 Vittorio Leonardis out there.
Yeah.
I must kill them. Just purely for business purposes, you must understand. It was just so that it's like, look, I'm sure you have nice lives, but if you could just inform away, then it just all be nice.
Well, there you go, buddy. Like I said, Yanni Vandervalt, who's a moderator on my channel, has linked your YouTube channel. He found the video. He's put it in the chats as well. The one man show. And Eleutheria, also a friend of mine, was trying to do it, and she says, "Damn it, I was too slow." But that's all good. And he's also found your Facebook page. There you go. And it has the 7 as well. So it's the right one. Yeah, I told you, Yanni's like great at this stuff. He just I picture him in a room.
Thank you, Yanni. Wherever you are in the massive electronic digital world, bless you for your shamanistic powers. Yeah. I would trust news broadcasters more if that's how they spoke.
That's very true. But yes, so I'm definitely gonna watch it. Thank you, by the way, for putting your stuff out there for free. That's really cool of you. Did you offer, is there a way people can donate though if they enjoy the content?
I haven't set up anything like that, but I can. I mean, I'll have to do some research as to how to do that. And I mean, if you know, then I can chat to you after the show and go, what button do I press to make it work?
I do know. There's a way.
Oh, excellent. Because the monetizing of things was something I was never really good at. I mean, I think that with the stuff we were talking about earlier about unionizing or getting comics some sort of representation, that is something that needs to be when you get to a certain point, and I know this happens in the UK, when you reach a certain point, apparently you're a UK comic that's arrived, and I don't know if this has changed, when you get a Nando's card, which essentially is you eat free at Nando's, which is apparently quite a big deal because in the UK, like here, you have to literally sell your kidneys to eat chicken livers. You get this card, and it allows, I think, once a month or once a week, you and 5 friends can eat for free at a Nando's. So I think it's probably a once a month thing. I'm not sure, but it's that sort of thing. So somebody needs to take the comic aside and say, okay, this is how you monetize your stuff. Either hire somebody to do it or do it yourself. Make sure it's somebody you trust, and so somebody who does your overarching admin,
Yeah.
so that you can stay home and play video games or whatever. I mean, I've had things before where people have asked, can I ghostwrite for them? Can they run my social media platforms? And it's always been a case of I do not make the kind of money where I could hire a publicist to do that for me. I mean, the really good ones, I stand to be corrected, but I mean, the last time I checked, some of the top ones, for I think it's a month or 3 months even, some of them charge upwards of 10 Gs. That's their fee. And so you already have to be of the famous and just need to be making more famous in order to afford these people. It's like getting a home loan. Is it, well, you have to prove you don't need it.
Exactly.
Then we'll give it to you.
I didn't know they charged that much. Wow.
Well, look, some of them, no, geez, some of them just unbelievable amounts of money. Because the reality is you're making enough money that you can afford the fee. So
That's also
true. I don't know. To me, to a degree, it always felt like you're paying protection money.
All right. Well, guys, please go check out that one-man show. I am going to get the link and put it in the description after the show, and so that you guys can check it out. I'm definitely going to watch it, and I'll let you know what I thought. But I'm sure I've watched you before. I love your comedy, so
appreciate it.
I know I'm going to enjoy it.
I must warn people though, if you search for Vittorio Leonardi, you will find it. Look for the image that looks like my face doing this, looking at the camera. What you'll see is 2 points of white light reflected off the top of my lenses. Purely accidental photograph that I've used as my profile picture ever since. But the name of the link will appear as Grit Pipe Thin. And I chose that because I was looking for a name that I was pretty sure nobody else would use, and it's a Goon Show reference. If you've never listened to the Goon Shows, there were comedy radio sketches that were done in the 50s, and it was Peter Sellers, Spike Milligan, and Harry Seacombe. And because of them, you have not the 9 o'clock news, you have the Pythons, and all of that stuff. It sprang from there. Okay. It's amazing stuff. So Grit Pipe Thin is one of the characters in it.
Okay.
And that's just so that people know when they go, what is a Grit Pipe Thin? I thought it was Vittorio. I'm just happy when people pronounce my first name properly. I say, hey, there's an O on the end of it. Rejoice.
Why do some people? How do you mispronounce?
Oh, I went through my entire high school career being called Victoria. That'll screw up your dating chances.
Like with a K in the middle.
Yeah, as a freaking Albanian prefect trying to get respect out of people when you're called Victoria. Hey, yo. Fun times. For those of you who went to American schools and don't know what a prefect is, hallway Nazi.
Hallway Nazi.
That was the term somebody used on me the one time. In my mind.
I love that. Hallway
basically,
Nazi.
If you watched Harry Potter, you'll know what prefects are.
Yeah.
And that's a rough idea of what they do. Essentially, you're the law enforcement wing for the teachers.
Pretty much. Yeah.
I was one of those people that really took it seriously. I think if I had not got into what I was doing, probably being a cop or some form of law enforcement would have been the field I would have liked to have gone into, and then I would have realized that I'm too soft to be in it, because I've known police officers, and it's a rough job. Yeah. I'd rather deal with drunks in an audience than drunks at a roadblock any day of the week.
No, I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. All right, so I just want to let you know that Yanni says, ha ha ha, you're welcome, Vittorio. And Rhodesians, these are weird names on YouTube, but
Rhodesians never die.
Yeah, we'll never die. Awesome. Have liked his channel, joined, and following on Facebook. And Eleutheria also saying, I love him just based off this chat. So there you go. Yeah, guys, go follow Vittorio everywhere. Just he is like I think we met when did we met like way back. Like,
I think I can clearly remember watching a set of yours in Johannesburg.
Did we meet in Johannesburg? I thought you were in Cape Town when we met.
No, you're right. I'm confusing the venues. It was at like Cape Town Comedy Venue or
Yeah,
one. It was one of like your Master Comedy or one of. It was there,
yeah,
and I remember watching you there. That's
yeah,
where we met.
yeah. And you like many other comedians when we meet each other, we're usually like quite nice to each other. So,
Yeah,
and you were like just awesome. Like I remember that. And I think you still had the long hair then too.
yeah, I did. I would have had by then, back then.
Why'd you cut it off?
Those were the days, my friend. Hey.
All right, so we're actually nearing the end of the conversation.
Okay. Was there
Um,
anything particular you wanted to ask me?
well,
Credit card number, social security, that sort of thing.
if there's any questions that you guys
We
have
have that.
for Vittorio, please ask. But I think there is a question that I always like to ask my guests because I always
Okay.
think that it's well, usually it's a funny story. Will you tell us about the first, or not? Sorry, will you tell us about the most embarrassing gig you've ever either organized
Um,
or performed at?
hmm. There've been quite a few difficult gigs where it was more just the logistics of the venue not being understood,
Yeah.
or the venue decides, yeah, you're going to perform in front of the doors that lead to the kitchen. And I mean, that's always useful to do comedy with a set of doors and people coming out. And simple thing, but there's no stage actually.
Oh, those are the
There've
best.
been gigs where the concept of having a sound system that they said and then they do that complete utter shock and surprise. Like it's like air to breathe. What is this you speak of? Mon Dieu, qu'est-ce que c'est? Um, I can remember there were two gigs that just on a scale of just where you realize this gig was where I realized that we are not necessarily what people have come to see. In 2012, Kiriboni Mulotsi, Joburg comic, organized that a bunch of comics went over to London for the 2012 Paralympic Games and were essentially part of the South African government's like cultural section. We had a section thing because as a representation of South Africa. I don't know who he spoke to and how he convinced them because I don't know if dick jokes are how you want to represent South Africa.
No.
And I mean, yeah, we did as clean a set as possible. And there's another comic, Warren Robertson, actually took me aside after the first said, dude, you can't talk about anything about crime in South Africa. I said, what the fuck? Dude, there were 7 people here. And we did the gig, and parts we won, parts we broke even, sort of. But this is where I knew that we were not what the audience had come to see.
Oh boy.
And I mentioned this during the live stream, but this is where my dislike of choirs comes from, and any sort of performance like that, because we had a small collection of rather judgmental people watching what we did, and then the choir dressed in traditional African dress showed up, and they were doing the traditional vibes, the sort of stuff that the tourists pay to see when they come out of a Hartbeespoort Dam sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they did it, and a crowd appeared from everywhere. It's like people were carrying extra people in handbags and from down their trouser legs, and the people. And I just sat there going, I'm not going to tell you how I lost my virginity anymore. You will not tell me story. You are not worth it. Not that I've ever told that story, because I don't think it's not something that's comedy-wise, and also I don't feel like sharing that sort of shit. There's some comics that do feel the need to share some ridiculously personal shit, and
Yeah.
I am not one of them.
Yeah.
I'm happy to make shit up a lot of the time. But that was the one gig where I just sat there and I was just going, there's a free buffet back at the hotel, right? Okay, cool.
So you guys were performing after that or before that?
No, before.
Okay.
And then, afterwards, it was basically this weird shift thing where I think we performed like 3 times in the one day,
Oh,
and
it's one of
it was all
those.
well and good. But that was the one gig. This one that I'm going to say, I've told a few times before, but this is genuinely true. What happened? I was hired to be the MC slash comedian for a wealth management company's end of year function. Now, if there are any companies listening that sell a lot of booze, um, these people will consume it for you. Like you want your brand. It says, like, let's say what the Prometheus, let's say, was their name. It says Prometheus was happy to get completely verschmallied on your product. These people, I show up at the gig. Now, I had to audition for this gig. Okay, there was an inquiry, and I said, well, cool. I'm emceeing at Parker's. Have the person come through, check me out, and then we'll go from there. So on the upside, that worked in my favor for what happened later on. So this person saw me, and I stormed that night. I did really well that night. Everybody did, but it was nice to do really well as the MC. So I had fun. And so she didn't introduce herself. No, I'd only met her when I was at the gig. We did the actual event. So go through. I'm dressed proper, nice, comfortable shirt and everything. And I was like, the suit pants and the good shoes and I looked like the manager of a Mike's Kitchen, basically. And I had the shirt and the sleeves rolled up. Now, so I'm doing the gig, and I arrived at 6. At about 6:30, food hasn't been served yet. Food only got served at about 8. By 6:30, these people are ordering trays of shooters. Now, when that happens at a club, it's already a warning sign.
Yeah.
And so these people are ordering trays of shooters, and I'm going, what the hell is going on in your life that is making you drink this way? What happens inside the walls of that company? I need to know. And I blame Uber drivers for this to a degree, not the drivers themselves, but the invention of Uber, because since Uber got invented, people have taken it upon themselves to get more and more blitzed so that, they can just drink like they're in varsity. And it's like, forgetting momentarily that they're 37 or 45 or whatever, have to go home to their families. And explain that, mommy, why is father, not dad? When you screw up well enough, your kids will refer to you as father. Says, mother, why is father decorating the roses with his own sputum? So I would love to hear that line just once in everyday life. Just sitting there, oh, wow, you exist. So we go and we do this thing. I do the gig. It was fine at first, like just doing announcements and basically keeping the peace. And then food got served. First warning sign: don't ever go on when people are eating. So you're going to do a corporate. So go on, and it's the longest 20 minutes of my life. I'm essentially killing time because the MD is at is watching his son's concert, I think it is, and then from there he's going to come here, do a speech, and boom, bada bing. And so I wasn't doing well. I'm the first to admit that I was struggling. So doing crowd work, trying to get laughs out of people. And some people were laughing, and granted, it was because of their proximity to me. It's difficult to ignore someone who's 6'2" when they're standing 1.5 feet away from you.
Yeah.
I didn't loom over people or anything like that. I stopped doing that after my psychiatrist advised that it's counterproductive. And so, I'm doing my set, and then something happened that, for that brief moment, those protests you saw against the 1%, that music, there's Rage Against the Machine does that video, Sleep Now in the Fire, where they performed on Wall Street and shut it down halfway through the day. That is how I felt at that point when the following happened. I'm doing my best here. I'm dying on my ass. And I thought, look, I was booked to do 20 minutes. I'm going to do my damn job and finish my 20 minutes because I'm earning my fee here.
Yeah.
MD arrives, and he decides basically, while this O clearly isn't doing anything. Anyway, he decides his best move, he starts a slow clap to try to get me off. And then I made a maneuver which was probably a very limiting maneuver in any getting repeat work from these people, but I wasn't planning on getting repeat work from these people anyway. He starts with this. I look at him and I said, "Sorry, problem?"
Ooh.
And I just stared him down. Because at that point I thought, dude, I've just sweated blood up here for the last 20 minutes. And the cool thing about wearing black is that if I get some of yours on me, nobody's going to know. And just sit your ass back down. You'll get to say whatever pointless collection of words strung together you want to say. Let me guess, it's going to include the words, "Yeah, we've done so well this year." And in that voice too. Yeah.
Did you say that?
No, this is what's going on in my head. Hell no. There's certain times where the filters actually work. Thank you, Lord. There have been times where I wanted to say stuff like it's that line from Star Wars, if there's a bright center to the universe, you're on the planet that is farthest from it.
Yeah.
That sort of stuff. But didn't say that. But it's like, I finished out the evening. I said thank you to the MC, to the lady who hired me. And in my head, I remember thinking, well, I hope this wasn't a career-limiting maneuver for you, since it was your idea to hire me. There is a part of me that always wants to go back to that company and say, "Is she still working here?" No, huh? There's a surprise. Struck a blow against whatever the fuck you people do here. But yeah, that was probably the harshest one.
Jeez.
Where just, and every corporate to some degree has always felt like that. It's a thing of, if you can say you got away with it, great. There are some comics I've heard that say they stormed. I've seen comics that have actually stormed at corporates, and I hate them. But I was with Mel Miller when he came to my hometown, as I grew up in a small town called Welkom, which is a quaint little fishing village in the northern part of the Free State. It's a mining town, folks. It's made of dust. And so I happened to be in Welkom, and he said, "Look, I'm coming out to like one of the mining companies, and I'm doing a function for them. Can you come through?" And it's like, we'll chat and stuff. And I arranged for him to stay over, I think, at my parents' house. And so Mel comes through, and he storms. And it's only guys in this room, it's guys in a bar, okay? And it's just Mel. I can't remember if he had a microphone or a light even. Mel hit them like a hammer. Like, he took out somebody at the beginning, another one there, and he could do no wrong after that. He'd proven he was one of the boys. Even though being an old Jew, that was like the furthest thing from it he could have been in a town like Welkom. And he worked and he kicked the crap out of that room. He did so well. And I was just going, shit, man, this is amazing. And I always think back to that gig. Like when especially with a corporate, I don't get many corporates, but when I do, it's approach it with the same professionalism you're supposed to. You do your damn job. And there are those moments where I've seen comics just do really well at gigs, and I was like, that is very cool. I'm impressed when that happens, because when you work a gig and you know how hard it is, and you see somebody do well, it's like, hey, awesome, well done, you smashed it.
Yeah.
And it's just So that was that was one of the harder gigs. I mean, I have been at some gigs where I was wondering, what the hell am I doing out here? Where my friend Brian came with me, and we were doing a gig. He was staying in Vanderbijl Park at the time, and the gig was on the river there at Vanderbijl Park, and we do the gig, and we show up, and we're just sitting at the bar, just waiting for the rest of the comics to show up, and these group of locals walk in, and they're the one that the lead mouthpiece of the group says the following phrase. He goes, yes, where's the comedies?
Oh, man.
And Brian looks at me, he goes, good luck, bro. I was like, thanks. It's your love is overwhelming. In fact, if I were a cup, it would be runnething over. There's been some gigs where, I've lost it with the audience. I remember doing a gig when Comedy Warehouse was still around, where I took out a heckler, and Koki Falco used to say this joke to me just to irritate me at first, but then it just became sort of a calling card with us. He used to say to me, "You German comics are so aggressive," and it was very true, because when I arrived in Cape Town to do gigs, we would be there for 2 weeks. It always took me a few days. The time got shorter and shorter, but I remember it took like a week the first time around to decelerate my mind from the mindset you have in Joburg to be able to perform to a Cape Town audience, not have a rather they're just like and is the correct approach usually with audiences. I mean, because it like stunned the audience into silence, because I still did not know where the line was. It was a case of just keep firing missiles until you're absolutely sure that the earth is scorched, and the ones who were hiding in that sub-basement who thought I couldn't hear them whimpering, they're dead too now. It's that Fallout 3 mindset of, what? I have nukes? Shoot them! But yeah, there've been some gigs that have been quite vicious, and I've been thankful that I don't really remember a lot of them. I mean, if somebody brings them up, then the file comes back and play it out immediately. I mean, there's some nights where, I mean, have you ever had an audience? Oh, there was one. Have you ever had an audience actively ignore you?
Yes.
But like, not just ignore you, they're going out of their way to show you they are ignoring you.
Yep. Before the
lockdown. I was
lockdown.
doing a fundraiser. Sorry, what?
Before the lockdown, I had a corporate that pretty much went that way.
Oh.
Yeah.
When it's a corporate, it's even more bloody annoying. This was a charity fundraiser for like a school.
Oh, wow.
So these are the parents of the school. Only the people in the first 3 or 4 rows could not ignore me because, again, of my size and my presence. People in the back, these nouveau riche, self-important, should have been eaten by wolves. Oh.
Dude, I want to see you roast so bad.
No, I tried the roast battle thing. Apparently, I am too nice. That was the comment that was given to both me and Yassine Barnes. Says, you're both being far too nice. It's Yassine.
Yeah.
You can't be nasty to Yassine. It's Yassine. He's a nice guy, and he's funny. I mean, now I think I've lost a fair amount of... If I'm in a bad mood, the problem is then it won't be roasting. It'll become personal. I mean, the foulness that will come out of my mind, it's not pleasant. I've been with me when I'm in those moods. I mean, it's the fun side of having this weirdness in you that sometimes you're just not in the mood. And I mean, the weirdest thing about lockdown is that it's literally been like the most comfortable solitary confinement experience anybody has had. There was a game called The Suffering. There's a brilliant way of describing what solitary confinement is. It says you take away someone's family, his friends, his food, and his light, and his air, and all he's left with is himself. And for most people, that is not good company. That is not pleasant company. And so when that stuff comes out of me, I was like, jeez, Vic, you should have said that on stage. I said, yeah, but then I would have gotten phone calls from people afterwards going, geez, dude, that was a bit freaking rough. You're not supposed to frighten the audience because you want to keep them at the ooh stage. If you freaking unleash hell and they go from ooh to ooh, that is not conducive to laughter. Jeez. Yeah, I don't deal well with hecklers, and the roasting of people as well. I've never liked it. It's the same to me as prank TV shows. I don't feel comfortable with it, and oddly enough, I was in one once, and not pranking someone, and I was just like, no, I don't think it sits well with me.
Well, then you are a very nice guy if you can't prank someone.
No, look, I mean, I don't deal well with confrontation, and so I don't know if you had that feeling when a situation makes you feel uncomfortable, you feel it here. Yeah. Where it's like literally
anxiety.
Everything that's in you is trying to jump out of you and get away. because it doesn't want to be here for this.
Yeah.
It's some people say, "Oh, I wish the ground opened up and swallowed me up." No, apparently my rib cage and all of its contents wanted to leave. The theory being, well, Brain's on his own here. If we can suffocate him with blood and air, then maybe he'll stop being a doers and he'll just understand.
Oh man, I love your impressions.
Thank you.
All right, well, we've gone a bit over time, and that's fine.
Sorry.
No, that's fine, that's fine. I do have to leave because there's another show at 8:30.
Oh, well.
So don't worry, dude. We still got time, but I
It'll
just
be
have to.
hilarious. I get a phone call from another comic. Said, "Bree, freaking overtime. What the fuck?"
Ah, dude, with YouTube, it's not really a big deal. I would love to have you back though, if
Oh,
you're
I'd love to.
keen. I think there's more stories to talk about and more things to discuss. So, and I gotta say, Vittorio, like people in the chats love you. I would recommend that you go
Yes, thank you.
rewatch and just see people sharing emojis, the laughter emojis. Ha ha ha! This guy's so funny. Yeah, worth it. Yeah, so everybody's yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much to all of you who commented. Bless you. Thank you so much.
That's what I mean about liking him. These stories are classic. Yeah, so there you go.
Thank you.
So yeah, once again, ladies and gentlemen, I will leave links to Vittorio's social media and his one-man show in the description once the show's over. So please go check out his YouTube channel. Go check out his comedy. I guarantee you're gonna have a ball of a time if you need some laughter during this time. And yeah, support us, support the local acts. Vittorio is in Johannesburg, so for those of you who are in Johannesburg, once lockdown is over and we've got a bit more freedom, you can definitely go watch him. I'm sure he's going to be on a local stage near you. And you do frequent Cape Town as well, so I'll definitely share when you're in Cape Town, and hopefully people will come watch.
Yeah, it's the thing of I try to get through to Cape Town like once a year. That was usually the thing because it's like Christmas time, and so
Yeah.
go through to Cape Town. And Claire, my wife spends time with her family. I spend time with them too, obviously. And then it's like do gigs because that thing of, well, I'm not working, which means I must be unemployed. Yeah, it's that thing. Comedians are never on holiday. We're just unemployed.
Exactly. All right. So, Vittorio, thank you so much for coming on my show, man. This was amazing. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you. I had a lot of fun.
And thank you all so much for watching. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to like this video, and if you enjoyed it, please share it as well. And yeah, guys, I'll be back here at 8:30 for Funny You Should Say That with Peter Sawanga, Benner Weber, Oba King Moreau, and Mikhail
What is the
Kanaka.
topic this week?
The dark side of comedy. We will be touching on what we kind of spoke about tonight as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And Bert Den Tuling just subscribed, so thank you so much.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, great. Thank you so much, Bert, for subscribing to my channel. Thank you so much. All right, so if I don't see you at 8:30, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching. Remember, stay safe, be kind to one another, and I'll see you at the next one. Hey guys, so if you enjoyed the show, please consider giving it a like and a share. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you're new to my channel. And if you really enjoyed the content, feel free to join and become a member. Don't forget about my fight against cancel culture. That's in the link in the description below. Support my fight against cancel culture. Go to that link and all the information is there. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for watching.